That's good.
And it's probably going to say you cannot connect. So then it's going to be blue.
No, I turned off the extra things, so it shouldn't be blue. You're on my page.
I know. It says live. Let's see.
but
It is actually.
what? But it's not on here though.
That's hilarious.
And that's funny because we've done what they told us to do, so that it.
Here we are.
Hi, friends. So let me just get to this. It's not showing live on here though, which is
fascinating.
Fascinating.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we're live. We're live somewhere. So, hey, welcome to Wednesday. It's Wednesday, June 12th. I keep wanting to put it as the 19th, but legit, it's the 12th. How are we to June 12th already? I have no idea, but this is the June 12th edition of Live and Unscripted with your host, Jennifer Saunders, spelled JJ, and
Leah, spelled Ligia.
Ligia. I don't know why I feel like I have to copy that.
I think
it makes
sweet.
me giggle.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still trying to.
It's okay. We can share it
find
after.
If we're.
It's all good. Nope. Okay. We're not there.
So wild.
Yeah.
But it's still spinning. But we're live on the page, right?
Yeah.
At least
on your
place. Okay. So oh my gosh, check out we're wearing Grit League t-shirts today, because we've been helping our friend Dan Beck run his Grit League series here in Idaho Falls.
What is Grit League?
Unfortunately, we can't start your broadcast in time.
Wow.
Is it live somewhere?
I
still
believe so.
Check and see, because it stopped spinning over there.
It still says live and it still shows us. So.
Okay, we're just going to keep going. We're not really sure what's happening here. But yeah, it's super fun to go and assist him and set up these fun obstacle courses and watch these kids do challenging things. Like they run, it's probably about a third of a mile course by the time it's all put together. Today it included some sand and weeds and prickly things. They've got net crawls and wall overs and spear tosses, hanging rings across. Anyway, it's just a lot of fun, and I really enjoy going and doing that. So when we help with Grit League, we get to do this a little bit later in the day. So thanks for joining us a little bit later. Mm-hmm. If you're coming live to us, it looks like maybe
it is live on YouTube.
Live on YouTube. Thank you. And live on my personal page. Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining us. We also broadcast this over to the Righteous Rebels Facebook group and LinkedIn when it's working properly. So
it's been so fun having all the little glitches and trying to figure things out. And it just makes that a super long beginning.
I'm really glad that you see it that way, because I struggle to see it that way. Honestly, I'm not a super techie person. And so it causes me a bit of consternation. Like when I look over and the start button says start, and we haven't been given a thing, but we can see we're live like that. I'm just going with it. So, this is podcast or a broad podcast. I don't know, where, if you want to see other like early editions of this, it's on your podcast apps under Living Courageously Exposed. I liked the let's just keep it a little bit more real version of this in how I present myself and how I present my coaching and all the things that we do, is just the live and unscripted version. And so I brought it over here, and it's live and it's unscripted. Often we will have a guest who we've just met, or sometimes we know them, and we just have conversations here where we let inspiration be the guide, and amazing stuff happens. Like at the end of most episodes, I'm like, wow, that was just so cool. Sometimes I think we should record that after stuff, like the after conversation after we've hit stop. There's some really beautiful conversations that go on there too. So maybe one of these times we'll just keep it going. Mm-hmm. Secretly. It won't be a secret, but anyway, we're happy you're here. We almost always start with breathing, and we're going to today because it's a beautiful opportunity for us to get present and to invite you into that presence with us, where we let our, I always say, our hearts and our minds, and our guts come into coherence, where we can let go of everything that's happened today, which for us has been a lot, and we can let go of anything we think is going to happen in the day and just be right here, right now,
which for many of us is a lot.
It is a lot.
Right?
To just be present, to just really allow yourself to feel inspiration, to hear your voice, and to speak it in a way that's really present. So, I honestly haven't thought of. I feel a little tired, and so today let's just do regular. Just we're going to invite you to close your eyes or take a downward gaze, and I'm actually just going to say breathe however you want to. Whether you do a box breathing, Leah's inviting you to put your hand on your heart, which I love that connection as well. You can just focus on taking deep breaths down into your pelvis or your sit bones.
Right down to your toes.
Right down to your toes.
Like,
whatever.
Seriously, imagine that. It's such a neat sensation when you can like actually imagine your breath, like give it a color, whatever color comes to mind, and like let it flow through you. And like there's just such a visual that comes for me, like I can feel it just like washing down and pulling back up and washing down.
I was gonna say, what was that? Oh my gosh. Anyway, so with that, just take this moment to just get quiet, really, but focus on your breathing. So closed eyes or downward gaze. We're going to do this with you. And let's just do it for even just like 30 seconds. All right, here we go. As you do this, just take note. What happens in your body? What happens in your mind, in your heart? What do you experience? What do you feel? I love it. I could feel you laughing. I love taking that just a moment because I feel myself settle. I actually, if I focus, and it's not even really about focusing, it's just being in the presence. I can feel my clothes, like in different parts of my body. I can feel how my elbow is leaning on my chair, or how my feet are sitting on the bars. I like how I feel my mind slow, and because I get excited to get on here and start having conversation, and it's just kind of fun for me to just feel it go. How about you?
I think I just really appreciate that you take the time to do the breathing exercise. I think it's so easy to just jump into things, and sometimes we just want to be in such a hurry. Or I know when I've been on live things before, like as a viewer, sometimes I can feel cringy, or I don't want to do it, or I want to fast forward through it. But if you just take this second to really just practice slowing down, you'll start to notice other places in your life where you're starting to feel like that, and it can be a cue to be like, oh, maybe I should breathe. Like, yeah. I just find I'm learning so much. We talk a lot about breathing, but I have a client right now, and he talks a lot about breath work and synchronicity in your exercises, and just like feeling into your body, and things that we talk about already. But I feel like it's more present, and just how much we take that for granted. Simple act of breathing.
Well, just that simple act, like you said, of breathing and slowing down, and how that brings us like right here, right now, where we actually can feel what we're thinking. We can hear what we're thinking. We can come into that coherent, more calm and peaceful state where better decisions are made. Better outcomes can be had because we're making present conscious decisions and speaking conversations that are in presence. You know, I often find myself, not often, but when I find myself in moments of like consternation or in disagreements or yeah, just frustration, if I will just, I'll often like just start breathing deeper so that I can slow myself down, give myself that quick pause to just not allow my emotions. I love that. I love the phrase um, when emotions go up, intelligence goes down.
Mm.
And I feel that happening. Like I feel myself getting dumber, and then going to do things that are going to create collateral damage later. And so it's a simple way. Whether you're driving, whether you're a parent and your kids are like doing kid things, actually being kids, or maybe you're having a disagreement with your spouse, significant other, or a coworker, or whatever. Just
Well, I feel like it gives you an opportunity to be in a space of like creation and intentionality versus reaction or
man,
right? Like
for sure.
it's that it gives you an opportunity to flip that switch and to have control. Like, how do I want this? Even ask yourself the question, if you have that space to, or the habit to, how do I want this to turn out? What's my best case scenario? Like, how can I help create that that outcome?
So. We ate chips and salsa. I just noticed I'm doing this. Hold.
Okay.
It's live and unscripted, baby. I think I have chips in my teeth, and I don't want to like continually do that for you. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I said to Leah before we got on, you're like, oh, all my words just got caught together. Before we got on here, I was like, what are we going to talk about today? And without any apprehension or pause, she's like, let's talk about body memory. Okay, we're going to talk about body memory. It's a really fascinating thing for me. It's something that started coming into my presence long time ago, but last year it came in just kind of a different way, and I think it came more into my presence in my more conscious practice of surrendering, and just noticing um, how it actually played out in my own world. And so I was excited and equally scared to nervous to talk about body memory.
I mean, like, let's start off the bat with, what is body memory? Like, how would you define that?
Well, there's a lot of, for me, I'm like 10 thoughts at once. Like I've learned of it, I've read of it, I've learned about it, listened to stuff about it from many different sources. And it's, there's books like Body Keeps a Score. Louise Hay does a lot of this stuff. Ina, I can't think of her name. Body language. Anyway, there's quite a few people who talk about how our bodies hang on to emotions or things that happen to us. And so, um, what was your question?
How would you define
Oh, how
body
would I find it?
memory?
It's just how our bodies hang on to, not necessarily the actions that took place, but the emotions and the feelings that came with those actions. It stores it in different places. And if you're unfamiliar with different bodies, we have several different bodies. We have our physical body, we have an emotional body, we have a spiritual body, we have a spiritual or mental body. Um, all of a sudden, I'm like, what are the different bodies? And our we have this amazing system where these other bodies outside of our physical body can give us signals of like stuff that's up, stuff that needs to come up, stuff that needs to be cleared, or it can be alarm systems for us. And if we don't catch it, then often it shows up as a physical illness or ailment or injury, so that it can get our attention. Like, hey, hello, I've been trying to get your attention out here in these other bodies and you're not listening. Like that, like a 2-year-old. That's really annoying.
That's the point.
That's the point.
It's getting your attention because it just wants to be seen and acknowledged, and maybe even just talk to and say, hey, do you need a cookie?
So, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because so our bodies do keep the score, and that's a really great book if you ever would like to read it. It also is on Audible, and it's very long. It's very detailed, but it's a great book. And so in the intelligences that we are, we hang on to things until we're aware enough to clear them, or maybe ready to clear them. And this is a total squirrel. I looked over that way because I have a big glass sliding door, and there is a freaking ginormous fly, like probably as big as my eye, on the window. It's totally catching my attention. I'm not even going to apologize. But now I know it's there. Anyway, so
Flip flop, anyone? Chancleta.
Right? Fly swatter. You bring up the story of tapping 2-year-old, and one thing that the story that it brings up for me is like when we have for me, like when I was running a lot, practicing for ultra distances up to 100 miles, I would go out and I would start running, and within like 3 or 5 miles, I'm like, why is my knee hurting? And I would that can stop a lot of people. And I had this thought one day to just check in. Like Lee was saying, those things just want our attention. They want to be heard. They want to be acknowledged. And so I started this practice of I would pause, and then I would touch my knee or wherever was hurting. And I would say, I hear you. Do you have something to tell me? Are you okay? We're going to keep going down the road for a little bit. I'll check in with you here in a little while and see if we're okay. And most often, it went away, which was absolutely incredible. And I know it sounds a little hokey, and what I'm going to say to you is be mindful, like actually be mindful, because there can be there are emotional things behind this, and there may be an actual injury that requires attention and pulling back a little bit or slowing down so that it can heal, but also looking at the emotional stuff that's behind whatever that body part or ailment is going on. That was so fascinating to me. But tell me how you experience the body memory stuff. Like, what is that for you? I have some other examples, but I want to hear.
So for me, it really came. So, where do I start?
Right. I have an instant like last year, but I want to share that after you've shared.
So I think of, you introduced me that book. I'm searching. Oh, there it is.
I know.
Yeah.
There's one right behind you too.
I'm going to grab it because it's really.
Ina Segal.
Yeah. This is the one I can see. So this has been a really interesting book just because I think it started because I twisted my ankle. Like I really rolled it. And we started talking about just what, the side of the body, what it can mean, and I think it was just so fascinating to me how much when I looked up the body part or whatever was hurt, how much it applied in my lived experience.
Right. It's like, really, that book's going to tell me spot on.
Right. And so as I dug in deeper, I got the book for myself. And, I used to struggle a lot with allergies, and my asthma used to be super bad. And as I've gotten older, it's shifted. And, the allergens that I was allergic to have always still been there, but my sensitivity to them has changed over time. And I really, when I started learning about that in this book, allergies are related to like trying to control a situation or not using your voice, or just feeling like you have to adjust to suit everyone else's needs, and how much that was so present in that time in my life. And as I've grown and gained confidence and found my own voice, I don't have the severity of the allergies and asthma that I used to have.
I always find that so intriguing and fascinating. Like when that stuff comes to presence and you're able to feel into. My habit is still to say figure out, but feel into what all that is, and that how many stories I've heard similar to your own. It's such a beautiful thing.
Well, and I think it's neat too. Like if you do look up something that is trying to get your attention, it doesn't always have to mean like it's exactly that's what it is, but it's like, okay, what do I need to pay attention to, and how can I be more mindful of this? And I notice that a lot, like when a big decision is coming up, I feel more like I'm being held here, what feels like asthma. But really it's like feeling kind of choked and just not going straight to my medication, but like trying to work that through, like by making a decision or talking it out, or just trying to come up with some other alternative to that. Or because I find when I'm avoiding it or when I'm trying to fight it, those symptoms really are more present. Sometimes it's been really dusty out and there's lots of pollen, and that's just a thing.
Right. It kicks it up, but I also
like
think it brings it into more presence.
Yeah.
Like, hey, there's still stuff here, because other people can have the same dust and the same and not be bothered by it.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And then I'm wondering, what's my cat one? Because the cat one's really bad for me. So most of the other ones I've gotten past really well. But anyways, I think what I was talking about, body memory, I was listening to a podcast with Joe Dispenza, and he was talking about, how we say every day we're out on our commute to work, and every day at 8 o'clock we're stuck in traffic, and we're our body's kind of like getting agitated because we're in traffic and we want to get to work and we're trying to do all these things, and then it's the weekend and 8 o'clock rolls around and you're feeling agitated and you don't really know why. Like, I never really thought of it that way, that we do things in such a routine that we don't even recognize what that consternation within ourselves can be, without looking at our
and that's the
habits.
example. Yeah, that's the example. I apologize. I don't apologize. My lips were chappy. I needed some chappy. I just about made you spit that on the screen. We had talked about this last year, especially as it was coming into my presence in a bit of a different way than I had originally learned it. And I was standing in my kitchen, and I was cutting food, getting ready to prepare dinner, and I just had these feelings and emotions, and I don't even really remember at this point what they were. I just remember experiencing them and just it was kind of like agitation and a little bit of just like anxiousness of like, it's like anticipatory, like energy, not necessarily anxious, just anticipatory energy. And that's a big word, anticipatory. And I thought, what is going on? Like, why am I feeling like this? Yeah, because I was fine. And I had this big aha of like, oh my gosh, this is a body memory, because the experiences were no longer happening in my daily lived experience, but it was a memory of standing in the kitchen at the cutting board, getting ready to prepare dinner, and anticipating the coming home of whoever you're living with, and the people who are going to eat food with you, and just waiting, and the anxiousness of excitement of them coming home. And it was such an interesting experience to like sit with that, and to have that just big recognition and awe of like, oh my heck, this isn't even about something that's happening now. It's me standing here and having had that experience so many times, and my body was just like I actually had to put the knife down and go wander. I had to go move the energy so that I can move those feelings through and let them pass. For me, a lot of times that's what it is it's this memory of something that's emotions mostly that have gone on. And for me to help them pass, a lot of times I have got to move. Um, and not movement as a distraction. It's got to be movement for me, movement where I can ask a question or I can just acknowledge, like, oh my heck, I gotta move. Like I'm feeling like I feel my body. I do this. I'm doing this because this is what I do. And sometimes I'll sit and rock, um, and move around until that energy and those emotions start to pass and ease up and fade. And I can just go, whoa, holy cow, like that was big. And just that recognition of how many times I had that feeling and emotion in the past and not been able to really do anything with it until then. um it's that,
Because you didn't recognize it.
probably because I didn't recognize it, because I was still in it, I was still experiencing it. um it's the Joe Dispenza. I have his statement coming to mind that says, um neurons that wire together fire together, that kind of thing. It's just like that. It's the rewiring, really. For me, that letting go of the recognition, the letting go, the movement is part of, for me, the rewiring, so that things function in a more healthy, um organized fashion, I guess.
Yeah. Fascinating.
What is that for you? Like, how do you experience that? How do you move when you recognize that you're having like a body memory? How do you move through it? Because I think
Um,
it's different for everybody,
I
or
don't
can
know.
be.
I don't know that I've felt the body memory. I've just noticed in the last year that people talk about it in my world more. Um, I just remember even my daughter was talking about like some big changes that had happened in her world, and that she's recognizing feelings. And I don't know that I've had that experience, um, of I don't really think I pay attention a lot to dates, or I'm just not aware of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I've been asking myself that too. Like I'm not sure how I experience that, or if I have in a conscious way to be able to share. But that face tells me that you might have some insights that I don't.
I'm going to say you do experience, just from my own observation, you do experience. I'm not sure that when you do experience it, that you're in a really conscious state, but it is something that we have talked about, or something, um, memories will come up that I think, I feel like you're experiencing them through the body, and then a memory will come. And I think part of it is for myself anyway, just that recognition of, like, is this something that's happening now? Have I been, I really don't love the word triggered, but for lack of a better word right now, we're going to use the word triggered. Have I been triggered by something? Is there something that's taking place right now that has me all bothered? Or is it like nothing's really happened, but some, like, for me, it was the time of day, recognizing the time of day, or again, sitting at the counter cutting the food, was enough of a memory to, for my body to
Go
recognize, like,
into the
oh
habit.
yeah, to go into the feeling of that, and to recognize, like, well, that isn't even happening now. This is something that my body is remembering. I like to say, for me, when that happens, I call it yuck berries. It's stuff that's been stuck down, or maybe we've shoved down or not given attention to, like the 2-year-old. We just say, go away, go away, go away. I don't want
I'm
to deal with you.
busy.
I want,
Yeah.
instead of going, hey, what's up? What do you need? What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? I call them yuck berries. And they just, like, kind of start wiggling themselves to the surface till you're like, oh, I can either pay attention to you and say, hey, what is it that you need? Like, I recognize that you're here. What is it that you need? or I can shove you back down. I don't recommend shoving them back down. They're kind of prickly and gross.
And they'll come back up anyway.
And they'll come back up. Yeah.
So I had this thought when you were sharing that. And I wonder if my body memory is not specifically to time or dates, but a feeling of, so I'm thinking of last week, not knowing how to communicate what I'm thinking or what I want, or even recognize that I had a feeling or something that I wanted to do, and not knowing how to communicate that.
What is going on? I don't know if that's actually happening live or...
I don't know. Maybe it's internet.
We're just, I apologize. We're just seeing a lot of glitching. I don't know if that's something you guys are experiencing. We look kind of cool, all pixelated out. But I think we're cuter like this.
It shows they're live.
Okay, cool.
No, it shows it pixely there too. Fascinating. It says the sound is still on.
Okay.
Well, darn. So now what?
We're just going to keep going.
I mean, it's got a cool Minecraft kind of look.
It does. We're just going to keep going.
What were you talking about?
An experience you had, a memory of like not being able to communicate your feelings, that maybe that's how your body memory was showing up. You said something about
wanting
last
to
week.
get attention.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you need to do whatever it is you need to do, but looking for all the reasons why I can't, or I don't want to, or why I shouldn't. And so I think part of that for me was just recognizing that I wasn't communicating what, or even acknowledging something that I wanted to do, which kicked up like wanting to, I don't know, I'm not even sure what that is, but it kicked up a lot of emotions and I want to shut down. And I don't know, that I think that's the only way I can describe how body memory works for me in this moment.
Well, and that works because it takes time to learn. And this is the other thing I love about what we do here at Righteous Rebels is we give it to you straight, and a lot of times sometimes it's like as we're learning it, or we have just learned this and we're starting to really get a hang of the tool, or maybe we just know the tool.
We know it, and it's a chance to practice it.
Yeah, it's practicing, making the practice of these things more normal. We're going to humanize this stuff because, oh my gosh, we're all living a human experience. But as you were talking, I was thinking about what are some of the, I was thinking of maybe a more easy way to notice, but once you've noticed how to move it through. And as you were talking, I was thinking about the practice of 12 steps and some other things that I've learned. So first of all, I ask myself when I'm experiencing that, do I need to know what this is? And sometimes I'll say it out loud. Do I need to know what this is? And if I do, I'm going to trust that answer or that knowledge and information will gently find itself in my presence. And if I don't, then I'm going to just continue to feel it out. I'm going to continue to breathe. I'm going to continue to like do what I'm doing, unless I feel the sense to like slow down or actually just pause what I'm doing.
Can you pause just for a second?
Yeah.
You use the phrase "feel it out" a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're someone that is unfamiliar with feeling their feelings because you're so accustomed to just keeping yourself busy, or finding distractions or numbing things, or like, what does that mean to you to feel it out, and how does someone start to do that for themselves? Because I think I learned somewhere that if you allow yourself to feel out the feeling, often it'll pass within 90 seconds or something. Like it's
absolutely
does. So often it's kind of like,
well, it's kind of like if you get a sliver and you have a sliver, you can either deal with the sliver right then, which means you got to feel it, you got to tend to it, and take it out and let it heal quickly, or you can distract yourself and know that it's in there and you don't want to feel it, and so you ignore it, and you think you're going to put maybe a salve on it or something that's numbing, and you're going to put a Band-Aid on it, you're going to put other things, and it's going to fester, and then there's going to be bigger sore. Like, so for me, the feeling it out is saying, whoa, I'm experiencing a disruption in the moment, in my emotions, or in what I'm feeling agitated. I try to give a name to, like, there's this phrase, if you can feel it, you can heal it. If you feel it, you will heal it. And I try to, like, really go inside of what is it that I'm experiencing. And I do my best to give it a name. I don't always have the correct name, but something close. Which is another really cool thing to do, is actually know what more feelings and emotions are besides good, bad, sad, mad. And we're going to do a course on that here. We've started putting it together, the outline. So we'll help you with that. Watch for that. But for me, it really is just kind of I don't want to say it's like this intensely focused, but just a knowing and allowing myself to feel the feeling, to feel the discomfort of the thing without, maybe it's without turning on music, without sitting down and reading, without doing something that's going to distract. I just allow myself to feel. Again, the walking helps move things because the physicality of that, but I stay focused on, like, what is this feeling? What is this emotion? And I allow myself to really go in and do my best to feel it. Sometimes I suck at it. Let's be real. I'm human. But for myself, I learned that I did a lot of things in my life to follow what everyone else said I should do for success, for happiness, for basically to keep myself so distracted that I have no idea what my own thoughts and my own feelings and emotions are. Like, I don't even know. And when you feel them, you just get more busy to just do more things. And so for me, it was slowing down. It's allowing myself to actually sit. And sometimes it makes me want to rock. Sometimes it makes me want to cry, or the tears will just come. And
it's so funny you say that, like, just you feel stuff coming, and so you want to get busy, like, or so my own journey with that has been, because I was like running all the time. I never had a problem sleeping because I kept myself so busy.
Right.
And I've been in the season of life where I'm really practicing just being more present and learning how to relax, like,
which can be scary, and starting to practice all of that, like, that can be intense.
And you look for reasons to make it wrong.
Okay.
Whether it's like, I feel like I've avoided bathtubs. Like, I didn't want to enjoy that. And I would say, like, I can't sit still, or like, I don't like the hot water, or I don't like, I would make up any reason to make it wrong. Or I have like 500 other things I could be doing than sitting and soaking in the tub.
You absolutely could.
Yeah. But I've come to realize, I actually enjoy this. And, there's different.
What is it that you enjoy though? Yeah.
Just that specific activity is just soaking, and whether it's the Epsom salts and how they feel, or just the warmth of the water, or just feeling my body, especially in my muscles when you've been active and stuff, like just feeling that, just like just take a breather and feel just feel relaxed. And that was just such a struggle for me, especially when I was first practicing, and just the mind chatter that would happen. It was
actually really funny to watch, because it was only funny because it was probably like watching myself as I was going through, and I could watch myself, but only, you can only watch ourselves to a certain degree, but to watch someone else experience it, I was like, whoa, that's probably what I looked like a little bit in just that slowing down, because you have the right to slow down.
Well, I remember you asked me once, like, why can't you just sit still? Like, and that was incredibly jarring for me, because one, no one ever questioned me. They just took it, oh, that's Leah, that's what she does, like running 1,000,000 miles a minute, like,
right, wearing 1,000 hats, got her cape full out behind you. Like,
well, and I really genuinely had a hard time understanding how people binge watch shows. I'm like, how do you even have time with all these things that you have to do? And just understanding I didn't have to do all the things, and they didn't all have to be done yesterday.
how have you come to, or what brought you to this realization of, one, that slowing down might actually be a healthy thing, and this whole body memory thing that we're talking about today? And because when you slow down, you start to recognize, like, oh, there's something going on. It's not just that you no longer start to say, like, oh my gosh, I don't feel good, and turn to medicine or turn to other distractions or addictions. You go, oh my gosh, there's something going on. Like, but you got to slow down to do that. So what brought you to that?
I think getting to a point in my life, recognizing what I was doing wasn't working. Just how much I had, just the awareness of how much I had been really numbing, life shifting, and getting to spend a lot more time with myself, by myself, in new ways.
Was that unnerving for you at first?
I would notice
time with yourself, by yourself.
I had spent a lot of time alone.
Okay, but there's a difference.
There is a difference. I think I really just settle into, it's been my journey of surrender and recognizing, okay, I've lived this way for so long. I know the results of that. What if I try something? This is my self-love, self-hate relationship that, you know, I used to have such a hate for myself and like put myself down all the time. And it's exhausting when you live like that. It's so draining and heart-wrenching. And I just got to a point where, like, I was so tired, and I'm like, I already know where I'm at if I continue doing this to myself. What if I do the complete opposite? I have nothing to lose. And if anything, I can go back to my old habits. And I think that was the same kind of recognition of, okay, I've done this.
That piece right there of, like, if it doesn't work, I can go back to my old habits. I at least know those.
Yeah.
Like, how many of us do that every single day? Like, it's like, okay, I'm going to try this new thing, or I'm going to shift a relationship, or I'm going to shift a job. But I can always go back to the thing that I know. Like, we used to say, I love my little pretties. The habits that we know, like, even if they're not working, we want to hang on to them because we at least know them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just, if I want to have different results in my life, I need to be a different person, is kind of what I've been sitting back on. Like,
I'm seeing now my mind's like, really? Is it true that you have to be a different person? Mm-hmm. Or could it be more true that you just get to practice being more of who you actually are, that maybe you've been afraid to show?
Yeah. Well, I guess I mean it like, I don't have to be that personality. I don't have to play that role.
Okay, there's a role. Will you talk about that?
What is it?
The aha that you had. And I'm going to say it ties into body memory stuff because of how you showed up when you're in that role, Dory.
Oh,
when you're talking about, I recognize that I don't have to play those roles and those parts and show up in those, like, you had some body memory stuff that way, and just like how you were moving around and the aha that you had there.
I had the nickname Dory, just because I could be very forgetful and clumsy and just racing around and doing 500 things.
What felt like absent-minded.
Yeah. And so I would forget things, and I would not think of things, and I would, packing. I think that's why I avoided camping for so long, because that's the space I was in. And if you're supposed to feed and clothe and, your family while you're out, like, that's not a place you want to forget stuff. But anyways, and I just remember I don't know where we were, but just having the recognition that I actually, like, as life was shifting, I was finding myself be more thoughtful and take more time to organize myself and um, be more mindful of how I was moving and how I was like leaving instructions or whatever, or how I was packing. And
Well, and don't you think it also helps to have someone or someone's in your world who can recognize that you've been playing out a part or a pattern, but that you actually have more to you than that? That you actually, in this case, it was a recognition of like, you know way more than you give yourself credit to. Um, you're more present than you give yourself credit for. But you've got to have people in your world who acknowledge, one, recognize, and then acknowledge that for you, instead of just playing the role of like keeping you in the dory. Also, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about my own self and like how I have maybe propagated something for someone else because I see that piece in them, and
it's like to fit in,
yeah,
to complete a picture.
instead of saying, hey, you're more, sometimes I'll be like, oh my heck, you're so forgetful, or you don't ever listen, or you, the people around us have got to be able to see that too, until we see it ourselves, and then we're like, okay, well, sometimes I do act like Dory, but most of the time I just act like me.
Yeah, I think in that case, I played that role to be accepted, to have a place to fit in. I think I've come across. I think when I present more like myself, people take that as competitive, or that I'm trying to one up them, or um, it's just
That's funny because I don't see that. I don't see the one upping. I don't even know that I even see the competitiveness.
I don't feel it that way, and I don't move that way. But I think people play like they start comparing me to other people and how they act. Or I've had like husbands compare me to their wife. Like that is such a gross thing.
Is that more out of envy and jealousy, like on their end, more than that? Is fascinating.
I don't
And
know.
it would feel gross.
It does feel gross, especially when it's your friend that they're talking about, and that just creates a lot of tension and just consternation in your relationship. And I never loved that. So I think that was a safety for me to play the I don't want to call myself a bumbling idiot, but that's what it felt like sometimes with the Dory.
Sure. No, I think
Just-
that's honest, and that's, you know, it's honest.
Yeah. I think it was more like a protection and to stay in a relationship.
Mm-hmm. I just was thinking as you're talking
Friendship.
about that, about playing roles and body memory, and how many I'm like, how do I say this? Like, so for me, I grew up in a religion my whole life, and how many body memories come in regards to the things that I was taught, and experiences. Sometimes I don't even recognize it because it's just something that I lived my whole life, and having pulled back and stepped away from, like I notice things. I'm like, what is that? And I recognize that it's an actual ingrained memory in my body, and a physical sensation sometimes, and the emotions that come along. Like that's something that's been more present in the last little bit as well, and that's been fascinating to move through and have yuck berries come up from. And that the healing process of that has been super fascinating.
I think what I found fascinating is even just the languaging, like how body memory, what I'm perceiving as body memory, can bring up um, the emotions, and then the languaging you use to describe those emotions, and how that reflects within that religion. Like in hearing other people share their story, how I hear the common language and the common beliefs and stuff that you don't even recognize came from that.
Yeah, which is so fascinating because I feel it, I experience it, but it's interesting to hear it as I talk about it, like what your experience of it is, and how that just I guess it would be validation. Like it validates my experience and my feelings and emotions, and helps things move through and heal even more. Um, because I don't recognize. I think sometimes I still don't recognize what exactly I'm saying. I'm just trying to figure stuff out, but to hear it from your experience of experiencing me experience the body memory is just, it's fascinating and moving through it. So I think it's super important to have someone in your, or someone's in your circle who can assist you with that, and you can talk things through. um, we do coaching. We're here for you. Happy to coach you through that. um, this is the one thing that I want to make clear about our coaching, though, is we don't necessarily have a set out program. I'm not a believer in set out programs because I train people, I don't train metrics. And I believe that if you think there's a program set out, like those are the things you're going to expect, when in reality, if you're the program, um, there's so much more that can happen versus just the box of putting it in that. So just know that when you come and work with us, that you're the program, and we just take from all the tools and areas that we have trained in and learned from and practiced ourselves, and we turn that, we use that stuff in our coaching with you. So super important to have someone in your world who can encourage you to talk through it on your own.
Yeah.
Or with them. Speak it out loud.
I think that's been such a important thing for me, and it's like I understood things and I learned a lot of things, but I had no one to share them with, or no one who spoke that language in my world. And um, just having that and being able to explore things, and just the growth that I have felt in just being able to bring awareness to it, or to say, hey, what do you think about this? Like, this is how I see it. How would you see it? And that's just been so healing and expansive to have the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. I think about like where that started for me, and it started as group coaching and group things, and then individual coaching with different people who I trusted, who I knew were going to show up real for me, and not just in ways that they themselves were coached. Um, but I think some of my biggest ahas and thank you go to uh, one, my friend Doug. Doug, thank you for being the amazing coach that you were in my world. But also to a book club that I was a part of for quite a few years, where we studied this kind of stuff. It wasn't like just reading fun books. We studied inside of this book club, and um, lots of things to chew on and discuss, and a place to actually talk about these things. Super healing for me. And so I'm a firm and huge believer in coaching, whether it's individual or group, or maybe we'll put together a book club.
Or a version of the 12 steps rebelfied.
I love the 12 steps. If you haven't done 12 steps, I highly encourage that. And I like that idea of rebelfying the 12 steps.
It's been coming to my mind a few times now.
That's funny,
So
because I've thought about it too.
Huh.
I've thought about it in the past. I don't know. I wasn't in the space. I wasn't in the space yet to put it together. And it's one of those things too, like you got to trust that things come to you when it's time. Um, we've been talking a lot about time jumping, and that's a whole fascinating topic that maybe we could talk about on another one. But how, when we time jump, we kind of forget what some other things were like. And um, I think that's part of my, like, I know I've thought about 12 steps, but now it's coming back into presence in a different way, because I'm in a different space.
Yeah.
I'm in a different heart space. I'm in a different head space. Even though my space feels the same, I don't feel the same.
Yeah.
And which makes it not feel the same. So um, this is us saying body memory, just like check in. Just start taking the time to slow down a little bit and to check in. And when you notice something going on, pause.
Name it.
Name it if you can. Give it a name. Not a label necessary, but just something that you can address that way. and the feeling or the emotion that's going on, talk to it. I actually will like reach down and touch it and say, hey, I want you to know I hear you and what's going on. And
Are you saying like notice where it feels?
Yeah, like
where you feel it in your body?
Yeah, like I often will touch my heart. I'll touch my knees. I'll touch, I have a couple places on my hands. Sometimes they get achy and I'll touch them, or my sinuses. And it's just the recognition, but just noticing that if you feel stuff, it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means something's trying to get your attention. And this is your permission to slow down and give it attention. Talk to it, feel it, and let it move through and heal. You don't have to hang on to it. Um, and do your best not to distract, which there's a million distractions. Move your body.
I think part of that too is not judging that you're feeling it.
Ooh, that piece.
I know that one's been challenging for me. Is like, for me, I want to label it as like there's something wrong with me, or I'm regressing, or I don't know, I'm weak, or I attach some sort of negative label to how I'm feeling. I shouldn't feel this way.
Right? Stinking shoulds. Well, and addressing that piece where he said, like, for me, when you're like, I shouldn't feel this way, for me, it's like, I've already done this. I've already done this work, but it's the remembrance that you did it on this level and now you're getting this level, and you're going to keep getting levels until it actually heals itself and moves itself through. And FYI, it doesn't have to take a long time. In fact, most often it doesn't have to take a long time. I still get to practice that. Even though I know that and I've experienced like the quickness of it, I'm human. I still get to practice it. And so that being patient with yourself and kind, and I like to say, put yourself in the gentle cycle. Like you do your delicate clothing, or, favorite sweaters. Put yourself on the gentle cycle and just let things move through.
Yeah. I love it. Well,
I think that's it. I think I might go have a nap. Speaking of gentle cycles, we've been doing a lot of physical activity lately, and feeling my own emotions move through. We're working on a lot of projects. Lee is currently working on illustrating and putting a children's book together for a client, and we're working on a song that she's written. I'm working on learning the music, and so that we can record it. Like,
yeah,
we're working on some other music. There's just a lot of projects going on and a lot of physical things.
Mm-hmm.
And
part of the 50 routes in 100 days, Dan
Empires of the Lost Souls. Yeah, Dan, who does the Grit League, does summer fun for
it's been fun
families and adults.
Yeah.
So just a lot of physical activity. And so this is me playing out for you and giving an example of, like, if you need a nap, enjoy a nap. It means nothing about you other than you're gonna take a nap. And it's gonna feel so damn good.
There you go.
All right, you guys, we love you. We appreciate you. If you've got questions or comments in regards to this topic today, we would love to hear about them in the comments, or you can reach out to us in the Righteous Rebels Facebook group. Tomorrow, watch for Creative Unraveling, hosted by Ligia, spelled Ligia. And I think that's all for right now.
I think so.
Thanks for sharing your time with us and your heart space and just the magic that you bring to the world. And with that, we're just going to say, remember, be bold,
be brave,
be a rebel. We'll see you soon. Okay, if you happen to see this, we're having some glitches and we're not sure that it actually turned off. So we're going to figure out how to do that right now. And you're going to get to watch us live. So have fun with that.
Oh no, it's still talking. What in the world?
I figured it was.
I thought if I just X'd
we're,
it.
we're going to try it this way. We're just going to say go live.
How in the world would you end it?
I know. It's going to give us a live camera. Da da da! Hey! Welcome back to the end of Live and Unscripted, where we're figuring out how to actually end the broadcast. Thank you to technical difficulties. I think we figured it out. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you again for your patience. And we love you. We love you lots. Hopefully this works.